guys enjoyed the event. Tune in to the Fightlete Report show.
All right, thank you everybody for joining us on the most action-packed 2 hours on Chicagoland Sports Radio.com. Latina Epicina.
Hey.
My name is Motaz Oscar, and shout out to the Fightlete Report.
No, I mean, working with One Championship's been awesome. It's so cool to see how popular they are in Asia. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's different. It's just a totally different world. And yeah, so it's been quite an experience.
Definitely. And also talk about, given the role of the VP, how do you feel like your career in UFC prepared you for that?
Well, I really think the best thing that translates is just being competitive, because it's two totally different roles, one being a fighter and now being an executive. And, I have the relatability to the athletes. So that's pretty cool too. I think a lot of times the corporate side will come to me and kind of ask my opinion, about how we should handle the athletes or situations, or even production, like sometimes they want to interview the athletes a little bit like right before they fight because they don't know, they're not fighters. And I'm like, no, you guys, there has to be a cutoff, like minimum 2 hours before, right. And then leave the fighters alone. Like, maybe if you're kind of lurking in the background, that might be okay with some athletes, but you shouldn't be asking them questions, 15 minutes before they go out,
Right.
So that's kind of things that I just have insight on that I'm happy that I'm able to provide, because I don't think, even though a lot of the executives, and here in Asia, something that's different is that most people grow up with having done some form of martial arts, whether it's Taekwondo or karate or judo, because this is kind of the birthing grounds of martial arts. So, when we're going to school, we do soccer or football or track or, they do martial arts here in school growing up. So although they have done it, most of them have never done it on like a professional level. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where their whole life is dedicated to it. So even though they have an understanding of the sport, they don't have an understanding of what it takes to be the most elite of it. So I'm always glad when I can offer that insight and perspective of how we can really pull the most out of our athletes. But it's a totally different ballgame. It's definitely different.
Well, I'm glad you're having a good time out there. And, talk about, obviously, the pandemic we're going through has impacted One Championship as well as everyday life. However, I feel like in Singapore, it seems like they're very cleanliness. And obviously, a lot of the people do wear masks all year round to avoid diseases. So how has that affected you?
I mean, Singapore is one of the cleanest countries, I think, in the world. So I appreciate that, especially being more of an environmental friendly person myself. I appreciate that. I also really enjoy how well they've incorporated greenery into the city, because it's a fast moving city and it's different, but there's a lot of nature within the city, if that makes any sense. There's a lot of trees, a lot of foliage, a lot of buildings. Like the architecture here is just out of this world. You feel like you're in the future. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to Google the Marina Bay Sands, but if you haven't, look that building up. That's really intense. I mean, it looks like a cruise ship floating on top of 3 pillars in the sky. It's like, what is this, Totally out of this world. But, they have some crazy architecture. The Park Royale is here as well, and that's a really, really cool hotel. Definitely iconic. If you watch travel bloggers, if you are into that, like if you're on Instagram, you'll definitely see the Park Royale featured as one of the top beautiful hotels to go to. And again, it's all about like this layered greenery throughout the hotel. It's really, really pretty. So the city here is it's gorgeous and it's very fun. And even though it's small, there's definitely a lot of nooks and crannies and different things to explore.
For sure. And, One Championship is obviously on a break right now. I don't know if there's any plans for it to return, but who do you feel is probably a fight or a fighter? Like, has there been one fight or is there a particular fight that you feel has defined One Championship as a promotion?
Oh, man. I mean, if there's somebody that's defined it as a promotion, I mean, there's 2 people that I can definitely think of. One would be Angela Lee. She is the Atomweight One champion right now, and she has been, she's undefeated in that weight division. Though she went up to face Xiongqing Nan, who is our champion from China, up a weight class, and she didn't win the first one, but she won the rematch when Zhang Jingnan came down to atomweight, right? So they have kind of trilogy story building, and man, their fights are epic. They're so good. And I think Angela is, she's a sweetheart. She's such a kind person. She's got the values, she's got everything that goes along with what, One Championship's trying to exemplify, like be a better person, make this a better world. Like, let's all leave our mark, right? Because that's what that's what we're here to do. If we just live and die and we don't make this world a better place, then I think we kind of have failed at life.
Right.
So, Angela Lee is a shining example of that. I also think, Edward Folayang, he's Filipino, like kind of a head of Team Lakay. Edward Folayang, who actually just fought Eddie Alvarez. And it was Eddie's last fight, I should say, Eddie Alvarez's last fight. And Folayang lost, but it was a great match. He started out really strong. It was very exciting. And again, just a guy who came from, hardship and poverty and, has really made a success story out of being a martial artist. And I think that's, again, if you watch a lot of One Championship fighters, that you can draw so much inspiration from where they started from and where they are now.
And who do you feel is a pound for pound number one in the women's MMA? Like, would you feel like Amanda Nunes has that spot? Would you feel like Cyborg has claim to that?
Definitely Amanda. If we're talking about all the females, I would say absolutely Amanda. I mean, she has just been a wrecking machine, not just at 135, but, at 145. I mean, nobody has ever put Cyborg away like that. The power that she has, I can attest to that. She hits like a dude. She's really, really tough, really strong, and she continues to get better even at this stage, so she's always improving. She's got some good judo. I know she doesn't really show that off very often because she's so good in her striking, as of recent at least, but she's good on the ground as well. So she's very well rounded, and she's very dangerous, and she's very powerful. She's got everything that you would look for to say, like, this is one of the best athletes to ever exist.
Mm-hmm. Prior to your time with One Championship, people wanted to know if you were going to return to fight, who would you take on? Has that changed at all for a possible return fight, or are you just happy being the vice president of One Championship?
Yeah, right now it's one of those things, I was when I first retired, I mean, I'll be honest, I wondered if it would kind of creep back into my psyche, like if I would kind of want to do it or whatever, but it hasn't been something that's been pressing. I mean, I've thought about it, of course, like I've put myself in that situation, like, oh, what would it be like? But the thing is, it's so much work and so much dedication. And I'm the kind of person that's all the way in or all the way out. You know what I mean? I don't want to do it at 80% or 90%. I want to be 100, 110%, more than committed than I even thought that I could be. You know what I mean? So I know what it takes to be the best. It's like, if I don't have that type of dedication, which is really hard, as a mom, and I have another baby on the way, so I mean, these are just things that are not like, at the time, it's just like, I'm just not considering it. It's been I retired in November 2016, so I mean, you never know what the future holds, but honestly speaking, from the bottom of my heart, like, I just don't, it's not something that crosses my mind on a regular basis, and I know what it takes to get to the top, and I'd have to be in a different frame of mind than I am right now, and I don't know if I ever see that changing.
Definitely. And, obviously people thought that this decision was made on the fly, but I'm sure it's something you had on top of your mind going into that last fight, right?
No, it wasn't at all. It actually wasn't. Like, I had no idea that I was going to feel the way that I felt in that fight. And I was really discouraged after it because, I had a good camp. I didn't have any, like, serious prevailing injuries. I mean, I had the normal nicks and dings, but when push came to shove, I just wasn't able to pull it out of myself, and it sucks, especially to have put that much work into it and just not have the fire. It's like I had the gas and I had the match, and I just couldn't get it to go. I couldn't get it to light. I had all the tools, but they just didn't. The fire wasn't there, and that was such a terrible feeling, and also, to just not feel like it mattered as much to me as it did at one point, so again, it's not that it meant nothing to me. It's just that it just didn't mean what it once did. And I don't want to be in it half-heartedly. I want to be in it all the way, because it is the full contact sport. It's a hurt business, like you can't play. It's not a game. Like we don't play fighting,
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something that I it was a rude awakening. I realized it in that fight.
Definitely. And now talk about who would you pick between Amanda Nunes and Felicia Spencer, if that's the next fight that happens for Nunes?
Oh, you know what? Let me start with just saying I admire Felicia Spencer. I really, really do. And I think she is such a tough girl, and she has a very bright future, and she's got everything in the making, right? She is a champion in the making. But I just think right now that Amanda is too seasoned. I think Amanda's still like in her prime, she's not really on her way out. She hasn't shown any, signs of declining. She's the greatest of all time. She's just amazing. And I think that Amanda will walk away with the win for sure. But I think that Felicia will take so much away from that. And I think that there could be a rematch down the road where I may not be saying, I think Amanda's going to win this. You know what I mean? I think this one, I think for sure at the timing of everything, I think that this is Amanda's fight. But I'm telling you what, she's got the right mindset, and she will learn a lot from it, and she'll come back stronger.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely one of the biggest stars in MMA is Amanda Nunes. Just seeing someone like Felicia Spencer come out of the works definitely is a threat, poses a great threat to her. When we look back at the history of women's MMA, obviously, we know the name Ronda Rousey. You're right behind her. So talk about your legacy and, how you feel you'll be remembered.
I'm sure it differs for so many people, but I hope that the legacy that I left back was that be real with yourself, but don't ever give up, and I know that some of my haters are like, oh, well, you gave up in that last fight. No, I don't look at it that way. Honestly, I look at it as like that was part of me, the harsh reality. Like either I could sit there and lie to myself and be like, no, I still want this, and put my pride before it, or I could like be honest and say, you know what, I'm going to take the energy and the greatness that I have inside me, and I'm going to channel it in a different way. And that's really what I've done, and I'm very proud to be the vice president of One Championship. I'm really proud to be an executive. I'm proud to be, leading a forefront charge for women and, and men alike over here in Asia, and breaking boundaries and coaching and teaching, So I have a new directive, and that happens in life, right? I don't know very many people that stick with one career their whole life, So I had been doing martial arts since I was in high school, and that was my everything, and then when I kind of was like, you know what, I think it's time to move on. Like, what other great things can I accomplish? And that's really what for me it boiled down to was honesty. I need to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself. And so I hope people can see that and then taking that mentality and the strengths that you have, and not being afraid to take a whole new path, right? And do something that's different than what you've done before, or against the grain, or out of the normal, out of the box. Like, get comfortable being uncomfortable. I moved my whole family over to Asia having no idea really what to expect, but that's just the way that I like to lead my life. I like to take risk, and I find it usually pays off when you listen to your heart.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Miesha, we appreciate you for the time on the Fight Report, and wish you best of luck in the future. We can't wait for One Championship to return, so let everybody know how they can check you out on social media as well as One Championship.
Yeah, so it's just Miesha Tate, I think, on most of those. Miesha Tate fan page, I before E. Don't get it confused, because there's a lot of like fake pages out there.
Yeah.
So IESHA. One championship, like we're looking to throw an event as soon as we can, but obviously safety is a priority. We're not looking to put anybody at any unnecessary risk, for live sports. So we're working around the clock to problem solve and find a safe way to do that. And I don't think it'll be too long that you all will have to suffer without One Championship. So we're working on it. And thank you guys for having me today. Yeah, and thank you guys for having me.
Oh, anytime. Well, Miesha, it's a pleasure having you on the Fight Report, and best of luck in the future. And congratulations, of course, on pregnancy of your second child. We hope everything goes well and stay healthy and happy.
All right. Take care.